Okay, quick update. Memorial Day, all the landscaping's done, so I'm able to get back out here. We've had beautiful weather in my workshop, which extends to the front of the house, and matter of fact, the rest of the world. So it's been great weather up here in upstate New York. So here's where I'm at as far as what you can see here. I got the pipes installed. Everything is screwed in at that point. This is simply my template for the hinge pockets and the, if I can get it, everything's backwards to me, and the router hole for the base. So this is all the base stuff. And I got this out because I was taking a look at an issue that I'm having. And I'm sure everybody out there, if you're watching this video and you've stuck with me this far, wow, actually, wow, that you're actually still here. But if you stuck with me, you might have seen this before me. However, what I did was this. So without this, let me get that out of the way. All right, so basically just a screw gun, driver, actually a drill, driver, a couple of screws and everything. Saw's already there. Got the brackets on the saw. Hit it more or less right the first time. I could actually take them off and probably shave maybe 1/8 of an inch or better. It was almost guesswork, and I just got a really good guess, completely coincidental by accident. But so the height of the bracketing on the saw to receive the pipes to actually rest on the pipes worked out very well. Then I had one set secured. I moved this set all the way over there in order to give me as much feed as possible to actually receive if I'm sending larger lumber through. I'm treating this like, you know, if I'm a one-man operation, there's no one there to hold the piece of plywood, etc. And this is what I'm running it because I don't have an 8-foot track for a track saw. Nor do I even have a homemade one. And so if I'm running bigger things through this table saw, which I'll have to for a time until I'm able to afford something like the Festool track saw system or somebody else's, that I wanted to make sure that I had some pretty good outfeed. So I actually took the saw and moved it as far as I could this way with this set of brackets here, and then this set of brackets is actually just, you know, it's going to hit where it needs to hit in order to receive the saw, let the saw rest on it. So I did that, did some measurements, I got a tentative placement, set the saw in there with the pipes extended, adjusted a little bit, worked out just fine. But I did mention a problem, and here's the problem. So if I were to take this drill, I'll set it over here. If I were to lift this drill up, just pick it up, this whole thing is going to tip. And so I have a very serious counterweight issue here. Now, granted, the top is not on. I trust that the top, even with all of those, you know, 2,769,372.8, don't double check the number I said about 5 videos ago because it's close. It's not the same. I must have miscounted the first time, so it's that number now. But even with all the holes and with the router, of course, if the router were in it, cut out, router was in it, there you go. I mean, it's enough there. But I'm hoping that the top is enough counterweight in order to do that. One thing, though, I am going to do, I'm going to hedge my bet a little bit, employ just a teeny tiny bit of physics. These hinges certainly are serving, the hinges closest to the table saw are serving as a fulcrum. And so I'm going to take those hinges and I'm actually going to move them closer to the saw. Now, it'll make it impractical if the saw's not there to put the sawhorses in that position, because the sawhorses would then be proud of the edge, and every time you went around, you could, you know, hit your foot or whatever. Now, materials may be sticking out, and that could be irrelevant. However, just in the fact that I already have the other set of holes drilled. So this set here is really good. Like if you look down, you know, just as far as where the sawhorse leg is, it's well behind the edge, the plane that the edge of the box of the semi-compact workbench actually creates. So, you know, I mean, it's a good placement for these things. However, with that saw, if I scoot that sawhorse out just a little bit, maybe, you know, half the distance again, I believe that will offset also any issues. Even without the tabletop on, I think that would really offset the issue, kind of get that fulcrum closer to the load. So anyway, that's an issue I ran into. Also, super ecstatic about the fact that that table saw will outfeed onto this table, and I'm a one-man operation for that. Super excited about that. But with every blessing sometimes comes a little bit of a compromise. So here's my compromise. And I can come around here and I'll kneel down. Of course, the pipes are going to be there because they have to actually, you know, hold the table saw up. Granted, never thought about it in that I've been praising the 5 7/8 width here, wishing it were bigger so I could fit tools in here. But because it's a semi-compact in that I went 3 feet wide, I didn't do the whole 4x8. Because I went 3 feet, that these pipes, no matter where I place them in order to receive the saw that I'm using, certainly they're in the way. And they will be in the way for these 2 bays, closest to the saw, and the middle bay when the saw's in there. I've got to cut the pipes, and so I won't have too much of a problem in that bay when I'm not using the saw. Or when I'm using the saw, that bay would almost be open. Plus, I can access, with or without the saw, or without the saw, I have both end caps that I can actually access and set tools in, and with the saw, I've got the one that's open. So I will have some tool storage, and certainly flat things, you know, speed squares, you know, and such like this, and hammers and fasteners and all kinds of things that will actually fit in there. But something like a drill with a battery on it, and I don't have the really small drills that I've seen others use. Probably a Festool, and I think Hitachi has a set. But I don't have those. You know, my stuff is a little bit bigger. It's all DeWalt. Brand affiliation from like 25, 30 years ago. Stuck with them ever since. And, you know, once I had one battery system, I wanted to keep that battery system going. So anyway, that's an issue. So, you know, it's great, but, you know, it's a compromise. This, though, excited about that. That's a win. That's a win for me. Plus, the whole surface itself is going to be a win. So I'm not behind on the game at all. And if I don't like this, I don't have to use the saw. I can take the pipes out and just have the bench itself, and I can still use the saw if it becomes an issue. But just wanted to update you. Longer video than I expected to shoot here, about 7 plus, almost 8 minutes now. But that's where I'm at. Tabletop is next. Drawing the scoring some lines all the way around to make sure that I'm within my 1/4 inch screwability, of course, you know, on the edge all the way around. I get some spanners in there for my spreaders, so they flex with the end spreaders as you push in, pull out, and try and get flush. With that, I would sand all the way around the outside, make sure that everything is actually flush, because with narrowing my spreaders ever so slightly, that at least my bottom is slightly bigger, and I believe my top is slightly bigger in just a couple of places, which tells me that I might not have a square cut. But in any case, though, so lost in thought, square cuts. How can I not make a square cut? I'm a contractor, by God. So that's where I'm at. After the tabletop's on, I get to make my jig. I'll make a 7. I don't anticipate making an 8-foot bench anytime soon. I really don't. And so probably a 7-foot jig to route all the holes in order to do all the bench dog holes. And so I can kind of walk it across the bench and make all that happen. And I think it'd be way more consistent than laying out the grid, which I could do, and just drill them all independently. But I kind of like the idea of the jig, and I like the idea of using that router just to plunge down, you know, kind of remount the hole, pull it back out. Probably have to hit them twice, you know, as routers go, even because it's a 3/4 top. Wanted to make sure I had a solid top on that thing as opposed to. So that actually will add the weight, even though, you know, tons of holes out of it, Swiss cheese, will add the weight. Will counterweight it enough, I do believe. So with all of that, there's my update. Wins, issues, no real losses, and I'll pick it up with you some other time when I'm able to, maybe tomorrow. On the road a lot, doing a lot of donations. We've got a lot of stuff that we want to donate, and Goodwill is starting to open up around here, and so we're able to get a lot of stuff out to them. So we'll be kind of doing some tours But when I'm back here, if the weather cooperates, I'll be back onto this thing, assembling, putting the top on, getting things ready. Well, thanks for sticking with me today, and I'm going to find that button now